Om. Okay, hello to our last session of the deep dive chakras. Today I will go through all the chakras. We had all the introductions in the last two calls, and today I go through the 7 chakras and will explain a few data points and a few practices about each chakra, and then we will do a little practice also. So to start with, let's ground again, and for that maybe close the eyes down and relax the body. Allow the jaw to be loose and the face to be soft. Allow the belly to be easy and relaxed. And connect with your breathing. And you can maybe just listen for now. I will chant the mantra a few times. You can follow me mentally, or if you're at home or somewhere in a quiet space, you can chant it out loud as well. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Last one. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Take a few deeper breaths. Maybe a long sigh. And you can keep the eyes closed, or if you have a screen and you want to follow my explanations, you can also open them again. But you can also take a teaching with closed eyes and see what it does in your body while you're listening, what experiences come up. So while I explain, you could even feel already in those places in the body where the chakras sit and see what's happening when you just listen without necessarily too much of understanding, just listening, open listening, and then see what comes also as an experience. At times I will share my screen, so you have also something intellectual to look at. And we dive straight into the 7 chakras. First chakra we did last time already, but I want to give a summary and then go through the next ones. So I think we stopped with the Muladhara, and yeah, let me recap. So Muladhara is the first chakra. When we look normally at the system, we start at the bottom, and it sits at the very bottom of the hip where the spine starts. And the Muladhara is is an important one because it determines our physical well-being and mundane life in the world. So our health, our bodies, survival, and also reproduction, in one sense, that we as a species somehow survive. So all material matters are located in that area, meaning also monetary stuff, like how we deal with finances and security especially. And it's all things in our life and in our bodies and in our experience that are solid and more earthy, like down to earth. So if we lose contact sometimes to the grounding, or if everything falls apart, like in a very like all over the place or flowy or airy, then working with the root chakra could be a good idea to make it more solid. And the name Adhara is base, so it really means base or foundation, and that's the focal point on our foundation. So you can see it like that. It rules our physical energies also that keep the body healthy. So the very basics of how the body functions. And when those energies are out of balance, then we have a physical problem, which leads to pain, and that's not much fun. But also those deep internal drives to have self-preservation, to keep yourself in society, and that also swaps over sometimes in how you position yourself in your social structure. You want to not be like the loser, so to say, and you want to be liked by the leaders. So that has to do with the root chakra as well, your status games, which are very exhausting at most of the times. So if they're a bit out of balance, if you too much hang on the status games, then bringing the energy in the Muladhara chakra into balance is a good idea again. Yeah, and the raw feeling of being alive. So if you lose the will of life, then literally you work on that chakra. So for deep depression, it can be sometimes also good, but then you need to elevate. So you're too dense and you don't feel purpose. So you want to really get more energy into your body, especially then in the chakras. Yes, it's also the seat of the Kundalini. We spoke about that, and it refers to the adrenal glands, which are responsible for our body activation. So when we go into fight or flight mode, when we really activate the whole body, the adrenal glands start to produce adrenaline, and then we are immune to fear and immune to pain and everything. And that's quite a good process. We just need to make sure then afterwards that we get rest and safety at some point, so that the body can get rid of adrenaline as well, because having it too much in the body is not great. And sense organ and action organ. So the sense organ is how we work with the senses with that chakra. That would be smell and the nose. So everything sensing smell and working with that improves the balance. And then there's an action organ for most chakras, and that would be the feet for that one. So if you want to activate and if you want to work, you can get a massage at the feet, or you can just walk barefoot or something like that. And then we have psychological functions, the belief that you are worthy of existing. So if you don't have that, which unfortunately I think in our society is very, very widespread, I'm not worthy, you really want to meditate on that chakra. You really want to infuse energy and the intention of worthiness. I'm worthy of existing, without doing anything necessarily. It's like there's the pure layer of I'm just worthy. I don't have to work for it. I'm just, by my pure being, worthy of being here. Something, if you haven't got that idea, something to integrate, for sure. Very, very basic and important, most important. Yeah. Then Carl Jung, I think I mentioned him in last call, he created those archetypes and personality profiles, and I will share a few things too in our deep dive about that. So what he suggests is that the archetype for the root chakra is the mother, like the one that cares, that is always there, that has unconditional love for their kids, that person that becomes strong when there's some intruder or some danger coming. It's like, no matter what, I'm here, I'm protecting, and I'm fighting for it. But also at the same time, like this sweet caring for oneself or for their kids, like the mother that is always nurturing. And the archetypes, they always have a positive way of living, that would be the mother, and a negative way of living them, and that would be the victim. So if you're not balanced, or if your chakra is not well developed, one could say, then you think in victim stories. So you make yourself the victim, and it doesn't mean maybe you are a victim of some circumstances. That can always happen in life. You getting into a situation which were beyond your control, and you got somehow unfairly treated or abused or whatever. And yes, you were a victim in one situation for the amount of time you were in that situation. I don't want to play that down, but after that situation, if you stay for a longer time in the idea of being a victim, it doesn't help you to get out of it. So it's very important that at some point you have to drop the story of being a victim. And sometimes we are not even aware, I guess most of the time, but that we have this victimhood very deeply engraved. Hi, there's someone else joining. Okay, so let's get back to the victimhood, and I do share the screen in a minute. It's not yet shared. So the victim story. So at some point we want to drop that story for the sake of our well-being. So that the world is against you and that you have no power to save yourself. That is the basic idea behind it. And you want to drop that. And that can be done with an intention and chakra work, so that increasing the energy helps you to gain the energy to drop the victim story at some point, or to realize it at least, and then work with it. I do share my screen now. So it's this one. Okay, so here, there you go. I can also zoom a little bit in. I think that's better, probably. So, personality profile, physically oriented and desirous of what the physical world has to offer. So it's all about material concerns. You have that urge that you need to get the next gadget, that you have to have material things to feel safe, and without them you are lost. So, well, let's be realistic. We want to have a safe environment and a life where we can feel safe. So having a home or a place to live and stuff like that, enough money and so on. It is important, of course. So it doesn't mean that you have to get rid of everything and be a minimalist. It just means, are you controlled by your physical material concerns, or are you controlling your material concerns? That is more the question. And if you strongly believe that physical stuff can make you deeply happy, then you sit on a misconception that the things make you happy, instead of that the happiness already lives in you, that you are basically the happiness, and just things can trigger that you connect back to the happiness. Yeah, so that would be the personality profile. And then we have the element earth, and we see that, I scroll here to the picture of it. There is the square in the center is in the circle is a representation of the earth element. Then we have the Sanskrit letters, and we have the sound in the center here, the sound of the earth element. That would be Lam. That's what we later do in our meditation. And we have Va, Sha, Sha, and Sa on the petals, the Sanskrit alphabet. All right, and then let's also have a look at the color. We know that it's yellow or gold. We want to also look today at the symptoms, how you can figure out if you are in balance in that chakra or not. So let's read first what happens when you're balanced. And life is your measurement in this one. So if you're balanced in that chakra, you enjoy physical ease with your body, but also in general, like with your things. You feel secure and that you have enough. You're grounded in reality and common sense. Self-explanatory. You feel energetic, so you have enough energy, and you are in control of your bodily drives. Meaning also the sexual desires, but also generally you don't push yourself. For example, in the night, you're going always too late to bed, you don't have enough sleep, and so on. So you have a kind of healthy balance, I would explain it. Reliable, motivated, adventurous, able to manifest what is needed, and able to be calm and in the moment. Well, it's a bit rough. So those are explanations from Carl Jung, and I have taken that out of this book. Let me stop the share. Complete book of chakras. And I can recommend that if you actually want to work and you're not so experienced. That is kind of like a book to go in when you have a question. So you have a problem and you don't know how to tackle it, and then you want to use chakras as a tool. In that moment, you can go and see, look at the book and research which chakra is it, what can I do. There are some practices inside, there are different approaches how you can work with that. So it's quite a good book to work with. Yeah, and if you're really nerdy, you can also read all the rest, but that's kind of more like an encyclopedia. Okay, hi Lisa. Yes. Okay, so let me share the screen again so you can have a look. So let's go through the deficiencies and excess. Deficiency, if you don't have enough energy in that chakra, it includes a sense of spaciness and disconnection, being underweight, fear and anxiety, they come very well together. Lack of focus and follow through, it's just because you don't have enough energy. Self-destructiveness, that means the sense of I want to be alive and I'm worth of existing is missing. And you believe truly that you are unlovable, so you turn masochistic or even suicidal tendencies. Then also it shows in a lack of finances and poor boundaries. So they change when you are in excess of the chakra, so when you overdo it, when it's not balanced. And what happens when you are in excess? Overeating and being overweight, so too much. Greed, hoarding, excessive materiality. paranoia, hypochondria, excessive spending, fatigue, laziness, fear of change, because you're obsessed with security, and too rigid boundaries. So this is this whole bunch of profiling is later on developed, just so you know. It's not original, intended from the yogis. Yet I do find many of those explanations actually fit somehow intuitively. I find they fit. And I haven't worked in that way, like to balance my emotional well-being with chakra work. I only focused always on the energy I can feel in the body and getting more refined with my awareness of the energy. So this is not my absolute expertise, just so to make that clear. Yeah, that would be the first chakra. Let's maybe leave it for that and turn to the second one. Svadhisthana. Svadhisthana in general helps us to navigate also in our social environment and in our lives, because it helps us to connect with others more or less. And it's all about emotional bonding. And that also includes sexual interactions. So I would describe, if I've tried to imagine how emotions would interact with each other, like two beings, two humans that are emotional with each other, you can imagine it's like an energy flow that goes into each other and that plays with each other as like a swarm of birds or something, or two swarms, they like crisscross. And it is very much connected to the sense of being in the flow in life. And I guess that's why also it's connected to the water element, because that really stands for the flow. But also to enjoy things, like all those beautiful emotions, like fun and so on, ecstasis. You could say maybe you drink of the nectar of life. So you're nourished by the feelings, that what makes us somehow human in many ways. I mean, the intellect also makes us very human, but we wouldn't be complete humans if we would just be intellect. Then we would think of ourselves as robots. And if we would only emotions, or only drives, let's say, like instinctive drives, we would think ourselves as animals. So it's this like unique combination of both that flow together. And Svadhisthana would be the flow and emotional side of those things. Yeah, so it can bring a lot of sweetness, but also other feelings. And where does it sit? Yes, it sits in the center of your hip, maybe a hand width underneath your navel, a little more than a hand width, quite between navel and the bottom of the hip. Some would say at the sacrum, where the sacrum bone is, and then that's where it originates, and then it spirals to the front. That's somehow, I think, a good explanation. And yes, it rules our emotions, but also our creativity and sensuality and sexuality as well. The color is often depicted as orange, like the sunrise. And yeah, qualities of the chakra is also joy and faith and energy, having the energy. The glands would be the testes and the ovaries. Testes for men and ovaries for women, meaning the reproductive glands. And if that's not in balance, then you probably have an excess of sexuality or no drive of sexuality, or you have difficulties of getting kids or too many kids. Which body parts are affected by that chakra? It's uterus, vagina, cervix, sexual organs, the pelvis, the lower vertebrae, like the lower 2-3 vertebrae, probably 2. The intestines, that means also the digestive organs, the parts where we digest things, also emotions, but also food. And the kidneys, which are filtering our blood. It's very important too. And how can we work with that? Action organ or sense organ would be the taste and the tongue. So I don't wonder that we love to kiss and use our tongue, and that's like a more intimate thing because it really touches that idea of reproduction and of bonding and of emotional depth. Action organ would be the genitals, and the element is water, as I said. And the sound of the element is vam or mang. Yeah. Okay, I share my screen again for the psychological functions. There we go. Okay, so if it's in balance, we enjoy friendliness, vitality, sensuality, ability to feel satisfied, compassion, sexual expression, a sense of bondedness. If we are having too little energy in that chakra, then it includes rigidity of body and beliefs, frigidity, being fragile, self-denial, fear of change again, lack of social skills, desires and creativity, lack of. If we have too much energy in that chakra, addictions to sex, romance, shopping, substances. We are irresponsible, emotional, too emotional, invasive towards others, seductive manipulation, codependency, obsessive attachments. So we don't want to be there either. Okay, let's look at the archetype. That would be the emperor and the empress or empress. That means using in a human way our skills and abilities to satisfy ourselves, whatever that means, in whichever means that comes and goes. And if we are not able to do that, we will be the martyr, I guess that's how you pronounce it in English. So we want to gain control over others and use their suffering for our establishment or to gain pity. Yes, so neither a great place to be when it's not lived in its positive way. Did we say that? Psychological functions. Yeah, I think I explained most of that. It's, relationships from an emotional side. Yeah, okay. Did I forget something about this Swadhisthana? I think that's probably it, yeah. So the symbol is normal a crescent moon or a water bowl. You can imagine a water bowl or just water as itself that sits in the lower pelvic area. And that movement, everything that water represents, so fluidity, flexibility, movement, life-giving qualities, they all come with the Swadhisthana. Okay. The next one is called Manipura, the solar plexus chakra. And Manipura sits in the, okay, maybe I can do it like this. It sits as a triangle. I don't see that. It sits as a triangle, triangle of fire, where the navel, my navel is here. So it starts at the navel and like a triangle that sits just above the navel, or in some teachings, it sits at the navel, exactly at the navel. And the depiction of the triangle would be the element of fire. So that is really, it's a very important chakra because it determines our personal power, the energy we have available to be ourselves and express ourselves. And when we look at the body, we find it's sometimes called the second brain or the belly brain or something like that, because there are the same cells like we have in the brain. How are they called? I forgot, but those gray brain cells, they sit in that area, and we have a huge plexus of nerves going in. So there is actually something happening, and it's communicating back and forth with the brain. So that's we would maybe say intuition sits there, the stomach feeling, your gut feeling. And it's also the place where most bacteria live. So when you look at the body's composition, you find out that we have 40 billion cells that make up the body, so all tissues and bones and stuff. And then we have another same amount of bacteria, they're called bacteria, right? Living in the body, which we are in symbiosis. So it has to work together. That's kind of very crucial, and they help us digesting. So they are our friends, and we want to keep them happy and healthy. And they sit mainly in the intestines and the stomach area. And that's why it's important to also, I imagine they are connected to the chakra as well, to balance them. So it represents or incorporates also wisdom, our intuitive knowledge, and that we have kind of enough energy to fulfill our life's wishes, desires, and digest everything that comes into our life. So the digestion, the fire element stands for digestion and for transformation. It is heat. It literally turns one thing into another. So it brings the energy out of the nutritions or of thoughts or of emotions and makes it available for us to live. So it's the flame of prana, you could say, maybe. It means the city of gems, Manipura. So self-esteem and willpower are located in that center. Personal sense of individuality, and it manages the digestive system as well, but also the skin is connected to it, the breath, diaphragm, the middle of the spine, the small intestines, adrenal cortex as well, but I'm not deep enough in anatomy to exactly connect that. And sense of sight would be what we want to work with when we want to focus on that chakra. So our sense of sight and the eyes itself, those are the sense organs. The action organ would be the anus, that is of letting things go, I guess. Not sure why that's exactly the anus, but yeah. Good. Fire is depicted on this triangle that has flames all over, so it's a burning triangle. So when you meditate on the chakras, you can imagine those elements vividly in the body, and that helps to also attract the right energy into that chakra. So you want to charge the chakra, the focal point, laksha, with the element qualities, which would be power, fire, heat, transformation. The mantra is Ram. And Yeah, I share my screen again so we can look at the archetypes. Oops. Okay. Okay, so let's go to, okay, let's do the archetypes first this time. A warrior. Yeah, you're unbeatable, unbreakable. It doesn't mean you're not allowed to be vulnerable. It just means you don't give up. Whatever life throws at you, you have the deep self-esteem and faith that you will have enough power to stand it, to go through it. And it is a warrior in the positive sense. It's not someone that necessarily fights stupidly. It's like you fight for your birthright of existence. And the negative archetype would be the servant that secretly hopes for recognition or praise and doesn't see the power in themselves and hopes to get it from the outside. Psychological functions, the personal power, which is affected by beliefs and emotions related to our ego. We determine our sense of value and our ability to carry out decisions. Blockages often manifest as pride, anger, fear, prejudice, victimization, that you victimize others, I guess, mostly. We become too sensitive or critical, or even conversely and critical of others, and we may be manipulated emotionally or become emotionally manipulative ourselves. Okay. Let's go to the deficiencies, excesses, and what happens when it's balanced. Healthy assertiveness, you can make decisions, you can follow things through cooperation, dynamic energy, intelligence, decisiveness, productive, can keep a mental focus, healthy digestive system, good physical health, healthy relationships with the greater world, and especially in the realm of work, because you get things done. You are someone that does acts. So we have those English affirmations, we can say. The first chakra, the root, would be I am, I exist. The second chakra would be I feel. And now the third chakra would be I do, I act in this world. And when we work with the chakras, we want to place our awareness in the body, we want to set an intention, and then we want to invite a sound or a visualization to attract the energy we want to instill. That means for that chakra, you could place your intention of I act, I'm powerful, I do, I get things done, I have my own power, or whatever. That would just fit very well. Okay, Anahata, the heart. Here we have the element of wind, and you see that in the depiction here. We have two triangles sitting on top of each other, which makes a star. And the wind element is also then depicted normally at the edges of the star. They are like smoky spheres circling around. So we have 6 smoky spheres, or greeny, smoky, gray, greeny. And then this star, 2 triangles on top of each other, which they kind of balance each other out. And the sign for, oh, I forgot to share my screen. Oops. There you go. The sign for the element of wind, which is Yam, the mantra, Bija Yam. Okay. Anahata is the seat of our soul. Someone has birthday outside and they're singing. I skipped dinner so I can make this call, and they're all getting a cake now. Okay. So the seat of our soul, Anahata, the unstruck sound, sits in the center of the chest, intuitively at the bottom of the heart. And it is the center of love and compassion, but also the deeper love, the unconditional love of life, of being embodied, of having an experience. Also relationship love sits there, probably. It's a mixture between the second and the heart chakra. Yeah, but our spiritual heart and the individual sense of self sits all in the heart chakra. Jiva Atman, yeah, the soul self, so to say. The color is green, so in modern chakra teachings, in the old ones it can be dark red or blood red or gold. And this chakra has a sound which is Om, Om. That's not the sound of the element. The element is Yam. The sound of the chakra, it vibrates. It vibrates in the sense of Om. And it manages the body parts of the heart. It makes the heart beat. It manages the blood, the lungs, ribcage, breast, shoulders, arms, hands. Also part of the diaphragm, the whole circulatory system. The sense organ, how we can work with that, is touch, and also the skin. So working with that supports. Yeah, we were speaking about the granthis in the last session. So the first granthi in some teaching sits in the Muladhara, in the first chakra, which is Brahman, the creator. So you have to break that to look beyond physical reality and matter. Otherwise, you're still in the belief core that this is the only reality, and with the death, everything ends and you're lost. When you break through that, you connect to the subtle energies more, and you feel that you are more than just 14 billion cells by coincidence that came together. And then in the heart sits the Vishnu Granthi, the sustainer, Vishnu, preservation. And that opens also deep acceptance, compassion, serving others, devotion, love. All those beautiful things can open with that Granthi chakra, which can be a hindrance on piercing the last Granthi and getting to the head, to the whole journey, finishing the journey. Because if you get caught too much in helping others or in fixing the world, you still have attachment. And in that last journey, we want to get rid of all attachment. I see. I'm a bit slow, or maybe it's just too much material. But I wanted to finish really today. Okay, archetypes is the lover. Yeah, emotions, but those loving, deep emotions. Negative side would be the actor. So you pretend and you create stories and tell false stories and you seek attention and you're making a show. When it's balanced, normally in your life you have a sense of wholeness and you have a sense of love, empathy, you can feel compassion, you feel friendly towards people you know or don't know, like generally you just feel friendly towards others. Nurturance and acceptance. If you have deficiency, then you're unable to forgive, you sense loneliness because you feel disconnected, lack of empathy, lack of love, self-love, apathy, indifference, or becoming aimless. When you have too much energy in that, it leads to jealousy or codependency, egotism, and self-centeredness, and maybe even tribalism or nationalism. Yeah, when you identify too much with yourself. Okay, and then let's go straight away to the Anahata. I do have, unfortunately, a call by myself in 15 minutes. That's why I really wanted to do a practice. But what I will do is I will record a practice and then share that practice on YouTube and in a group. And then you can do the chakra practice separately. So here we see the Vishuddhi, and that is the element of space, normally depicted as a circle or a dot or a sphere or a black hole, sometimes even. And the mantra sits in the center, which is Hum, element of space. Vishuddhi means purification. And it's our seat of communication and expression. So also self-expression, and that's also something that makes us humans very unique, that we have language. We can express. It's one downside that we think language creates a second reality, and we forget that language is not the real world, like language, our thoughts. But it's also very beautiful because we can describe everything in a second, in a language, in making a second reality. The body parts that are managed by that chakra are the neck, the ears, the jaw, the teeth, the mouth, the whole area here, vocal cords, thyroid gland, cervical vertebrae, and also the upper shoulders and the neck. So problems with that can be worked with that chakra as well. The sense organ is hearing and ears. Yeah, working with that sense. Action organ would be the mouth, chanting mantras. One of the best. You hear it and you move the mouth and you do something good for the rest of your energy body. Space is also known as ether or akasha sometimes, and has no it has no attribute in that sense. It is kind of empty vastness or full vastness, how you want. Yes. And the archetype of that chakra is the communicator, someone that is able to communicate themselves and also with others, so connecting with others. Yes, the negative archetype would be the silent child. That is the shy one that doesn't allow themselves to speak their truth or speak up. So that leads to suppression of emotions and needs, which we want to avoid. Okay, so then when it's balanced, we feel creative, expressive, we communicate positively, and we listen consciously. Listening is a big part of that too. And yeah, a general sense of contentment. Deficiency would lead to throat maladies, underactive thyroid, grinding teeth, fear of speaking, inability to express your own truth. And excess would lead to talking too much, gossiping, big thing, stuttering, loudness, overactive thyroid, lack of consideration or fragmentation. Excess can also open the door to compulsive behaviors, including overeating. Okay, in lack of time, let's straight continue to the next one. Agnya, the third eye, sits between the eyebrows or in the center of the brain. And yes, it is the seat of our intuition, or of our visions, but in a sense the higher visions and the higher intelligence. I say higher because I don't mean logical intelligence. Also logic sits there, the sense of like we as humans understanding things as logical understanding, but also higher intelligence of just knowing what is right, knowing where to go, knowing how to move, and so on. And it's said that also in that center sits our sense of self, in the sense that our ahamkara, the I maker, the individuality is placed or is formed there. So it can be turned out as ego, that kind of is destructive for the spiritual journey, but useful in life. And also of buddhi, that would be the opposite, that would be a elevated intelligence that just follows intuition very strongly and therefore helps to thrive in life. And so individuality is not a hindrance or something bad we have to get over. It's all right if you can live with our buddhi, meaning the awakened self. Then we can flow with life. But it also, leads to see beyond duality. It has the ability to see beyond duality, meaning that you experience yourself as that all-connected being, which you are. And without that opening, you can't see that. So, and things like duality, which duality is really defined by, is that you categorize everything in good and bad, and like and dislike and stuff like that. And you can see through that this is the mind, the ego, making this concepts. And you can see through that this is not life in reality, but you superimpose it on it. And sometimes it's helpful to navigate, and sometimes, but it is superimposed artificially. So you can see through that. That's where also the third granthi sits, the knot, Rudra, which is another form of Shiva, the god of destruction, but in that sense it is the destruction of the false sense of self, meaning that what the ego thinks I am. So that will be destroyed, and you suddenly have access to that fullness and unity feeling of you are the drop in the ocean, and the ocean is you, and you are the ocean as well, and the drop at the same time. So you see the sacredness, the holiness in things, in life. That's the access point. Meditating on that. Agnya means command center, or even unlimited power. Okay, and it also is the seat of our perception, so how we render the world and how we see. It has the color of violet or indigo, and it manages the body parts like the brain, pituitary, what? I can't say it. The gland in the center of the brain, and the amygdala as well. and apparently also the pineal gland. So all those important glands that are responsible for us of our states of consciousness. So they alter the states of consciousness, how much we experience of reality, and if we sleep or are awake and so on. So super important, because those glands managing the other glands, which manage the rest of the body, well, influence, let's say. There's no sense organ or sense anymore connected to it. If we would have to choose, then we would say it's the mind itself. The mind, the ahamkara, the I maker, the sense of I, which creates thoughts as well. Yes, sound of the element. Well, some people, because it has no element, place the om there too, and that's great. I love the practice. So why not? But it can be also silent. It traditionally doesn't have a sound. And I want to share the screen. So we have our archetypes. The intuitive, yeah, I think that's self-explanatory. And the intellectual would be the negative archetype. So seeing the world as cold, have no feelings because everything is logical and is kind of abstract. A problem solver and quite analytical. Positive sides would include being logical and remain detached, but that comes also often with the negative side of not having compassion and so on. And then we would have, when it's balanced, we find being or having a keen intellect and strong intuition. We can use imagination for our benefit. Seeing the big picture, meaning understanding also beyond words. So seeing also, our life as a sacred expression, you could say. Seeing the big picture of what really goes on. Perceive and influence spiritual planes, and that's an interesting one, because you slowly get access to subtle feelings of other beings that are energetic, and that can be sometimes beneficial or nice or fun, and at other times that can be also difficult if people are oversensitive, because they can feel those beings, then they have to deal with them, and that can be problematic, because if you're not aware, or if you only go with normal life solutions, that cannot be enough. So you need to find someone that is deep enough in that world to help. Deficiencies: inability to see the obvious, denial of problems or challenges, being easy to deceive, chaos, abusive relationships, difficulty in planning, memory loss, lack of joy, anxiety, perception issues. Excess results in fantasizing, hallucinations, difficulty in concentration, obsessiveness, delusions, nightmares, self-centeredness, or turmoil. That is what Carl Jung says, or at least Cindy Dale in her book. And lastly, Sahasrara, the crown chakra, depicted normally just as a circle that represents infinity and 1,000 petals as well. 1,000 just because we have to put a number, we would say infinite petals. Sahasrara means 1,000. That's why we say 1,000, but it actually means infinite. And it represents the void, so that most deepest layer of our being. The void is, if you look at the 5 layers of the self, there's consciousness, and then consciousness splits into Shiva Shakti, and then the void is created. That's the first fundamental layer. Yeah, empty void that is full of beingness. The head cannot understand. Location, top of the head, very, very top. And that is the seat of our spirituality. The point where Kundalini reaches and merges with her loved one. So Kundalini, the primordial nature, the force of Shakti, female energy, reaching the force of consciousness, Shiva, unite. So that is spiritual awakening or spiritual liberation called, because you merge into unity. And that's the goal of yoga, union. And in other words, that means all those problems of I'm not enough and I'm separate to the world disappears. There's just this deep peace and feeling of love for this creation and connectedness, because you don't see a difference in its sacredness anymore of you and the others. The color can be transparent or white or black or gold or violet. Many colors, depends whom you ask. Yeah, not much of organs that are action organs and so on. Well, in some books you find stuff like that, but I would say it is beyond the physical realm, because it transcends, it's transcendence basically. And yes, it has a representation in our physical realm. That's why we could find a physical location and maybe a gland, pineal gland, if you want to put one. But it's really the seed or the attribute of non-duality or cosmic consciousness that is represented by that chakra. Okay, let me share. For the last archetype is the guru. The guru is the one that brings you from darkness to light. Ru is the darkness and gu is light. No. I'm confused. Gu, ru. Well, maybe it's the other way around. But the one that brings you from darkness to light, meaning enlightened, awakened intelligence that leads you towards your spiritual liberation, or if you want so, union, or on the path. And the negative expression would be egotism. Like the opposite of union would be the absolute contraction. So meaning you feel as the very, very, very separated unit that has to fight, and that the physical world is the only existence in reality that is there. Yes. So pure consciousness is, of course, without boundaries. So that would be ultimate expansion or vastness. And the opposite would be purest contraction. So matter is the most contracted form of spirit. And that would be the opposite of the spiritual salvation. So the guru who knows the way, and the ego who sabotages, because the ego is just afraid it loses itself. And it does. The ego dies on the spiritual path. That's why it doesn't like it. There's no you anymore. There's another you that is infinite, but not the you think you are. That the ego thinks you are. Okay, what happens when it's balanced? Mrs. Dale says it releases one from ego-driven desires. That's nice. There increases in self-trust, selflessness, and superior consciousness, matched by a refined sense of empathy, with an ability to perceive the big picture. Comes as humanitarian, yeah, that's correct, humanitarian nature, expresses of inner peace and satisfaction, increase, as does the ability to live in the present moment. Maybe I made some mistakes here, spelling mistakes. Anyway, that is kind of still true, what it says. Deficiencies, lack of purpose. So purpose here, if this text is not from me, so it's from Cindy Dale, I interpret as true heart purpose. And I think that's important to mention, because it's not like a random purpose, it's the deepest purpose. And that is awakening to your true nature, to your essence, and then integrating that into reality. Okay, but yeah. Trust, I fully agree. Loss of meaning or identity. Okay, and all the other things, materialism and so on. Fear of religion or spirituality, that's an important one. It can really, really be a hindrance on the path. Fear of death, it's another one that is standing out a lot. Yeah, and well, okay. Excess, one becomes too intellectual, living too much in the head. Foster feelings of superiority, yes, I can agree with that. Manic depressive behavior, yes, I can also agree with that. Hysterical behavior, okay. Addiction to religion, that would be over, yeah. And fanatic spiritual idea, that would be spiritual bypassing, which we also want to be very careful with those spiritual teachings, because they are deep teachings and one has to really deeply grasp and understand them. Otherwise, you use a sentence like we are all one and we all love, and you misunderstand, and then at the same time you emotionally really damage a person, or you kill another animal or whatever, and you believe, oh, we are just, it's all illusion. So it can lead to big suffering, increase of suffering, if you bypass too much, if you don't grasp it actually. Okay. Yes, so that's the 7 chakras. I will record a session, so look out for that on the YouTube channel. I will share it, and I'm grateful you went through those sessions with me. It was nice. And if you have any questions, you can also write me on WhatsApp or write me an email. And the session will be uploaded. And yeah, because as we don't do a practice, let's just do a last minute of grounding. And then we close this session. So find a comfortable seat, relax yourself. Close the eyes down. And just for about 10 breaths, feel into the first chakra, the bottom of the spine, and guide your awareness up in the central channel to the top of the head with the inhalation, and then with the exhale down. Do that for about 10 times to get the sense of Sushumna Nadi, the center, and nourishing the chakras with awareness. And then take one big breath and sigh out. If you want, blink the eyes open. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful Sunday night. Looking forward to see you again. Bye.